I want you to do something for me before we start. Take a breath, a slow one. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Good. Now hold it and tell me, in this moment, right now, are you absolutely certain that the breath you just heard was yours? If you're still here, subscribe, keep the lights on, and whatever you do, don't hold your breath again. The first night I heard it, I was 3 seconds from sleep. Not the slow kind, where you feel yourself going under. Too sharp-kinned, where your body drops and you jolt awake. You know that feeling. 1 second you're somewhere else. The next you're staring at the ceiling with your heart going too fast. That's when I heard it. Breathing, close, steady, not mine. I froze. Lay there with my hands flat against the mattress, eyes open in the dark, listening. It didn't stop. In, out. I told myself it was the building. Old pipes. The neighbor upstairs. I'd lived alone in that apartment for nearly 2 years, and never had a reason to be afraid of it. So I rolled over, pulled the blanket up, told myself to stop. Eventually, I slept, but it was back the next night. Same time, same rhythm, same low, quiet presence somewhere in the dark. And the night after that, by the end of the first week, it had become routine, a sound I expected. Slow and even, like someone standing very still at the foot of my bed, patient, like they'd been there a while. And that, I think, was the first dangerous thing, letting something that should have terrified me become ordinary. Because ordinary things don't get investigated, and this thing was counting on that. The first moment I couldn't explain away happened on a Thursday. I know it was Thursday, because I remember thinking I had work in the morning and I should really just sleep and stop fixating on sounds. I'd been lying still for maybe 20 minutes. The breathing was there, the way it always was, steady, somewhere near the foot of the bed. I exhaled slowly, deliberately, the way you're doing your faking sleep. The breathing paused. 1 full second of silence. Then it resumed. Same pace. Like nothing happened. I didn't move. I didn't breathe again for a long time. I just lay there with my eyes wide open in the dark, heart slamming against the mattress, trying to process what had just happened. It had hurt me. I told myself that was impossible, that I'd imagined. The pause. That sounds don't respond to other sounds in a room like that. But I knew what I'd felt. That awful split second of stillness. Not the absence of sound, but the suspension of it, like something choosing to go quiet. I left the lamp on for the rest of that night. It didn't help, because the breathing was still there with the lights on. I just couldn't hear it as clearly over my own pulse. The second week was worse. The sound moved. Or rather, it got closer. The first week, it had been somewhere near the foot of the bed, then near the middle. By day 9, it was beside me, on the left side, between my mattress and the wall, where there was nothing. Nothing. I had checked. I checked every single night before I got into bed. Under the bed, in the closet behind the curtains. I became methodical about it, embarrassingly methodical. But the room was always empty, and the breathing was always there anyway. I started sleeping on my right side. I couldn't stand having the left side of my face open to the room. Couldn't stand the thought of something standing there at here, level, breathing slowly, watching me pretend to be asleep. Then one night, around 2 in the morning, I felt the mattress shift. Not dramatically. Not the kind of shift that would make sense if someone had sat down next to me. Smaller than that. A subtle compression, like sustained pressure, like weight that had been applied carefully, gradually, so as not to startle me. I was already awake, already holding my breath. I didn't move for 40 minutes. When I finally rolled over, there was nothing there. No indentation in the sheet, no impression in the mattress. Nothing but the breathing. The breathing was closer than it had ever been. It was right next to my ear. I set up a recording that same night. Phone propped on the nightstand. voice recorder running, screen facing down so the light wouldn't keep me awake. I didn't tell myself it would prove anything. I just needed something to do, some way to feel like I had any agency at all. The first 3 recordings gave me nothing obvious. I'd play them back in the morning and hear the ambient sounds of the apartment, the refrigerator, the heat cycling on and off, my own breathing and nothing else. Then I listened to the 4th one with headphones. It starts normally. You can hear me settling into bed, the sheets moving, a long stretch of quiet. And then, underneath everything soft, so soft, you'd miss it without headphones. A second rhythm, steady and low, slightly out of sync with mine. Close to the microphone, very close. I played it back 7 times. The 8th time, I noticed something I'd missed. At the 43-minute mark, I shifted in my sleep. Turn over. Made a small sound. The second rhythm paused, waited, then came back, slower this time. I sat with my headphones on in my kitchen at 6 in the morning, listening to that pause over and over again. Not because I wanted to, because I couldn't stop, because it meant something I didn't want it to mean. I started testing it deliberately after that. I know how that sounds, but I had to know what I was dealing with. So I would lie in bed and make small sounds at random intervals. A sigh, a shift, a quiet. And every single time, the breathing adjusted. Not by much, but it adjusted. It was listening, not just present. Listening, aware, waiting to see what I would do next. The way you wait at the end of a conversation when you expect the other person to keep talking. One night I tried to startle it. I sat up fast and threw the lamp on before I'd even fully decided to do it. The breathing stopped before the light came on. Before, not when, before. I sat in the lit room for a long time after that. Just sat there on the edge of the bed and looked at the left side of the room, at the wall, at the space between the wall and the mattress. Nothing. There was never anything. But I started to think about it differently that night. Not where it was standing, not what it looked. Something more specific. Something that had been needling at me for days without taking full shape. It had always been the same distance away, no matter where I measured it from, no matter what direction I turned, the same distance. It hadn't moved from across the room to the foot of the bed to beside my ear. The sound hadn't traveled. I had just gotten quieter around it, more attuned to it, more able to pick it out of the ambient noise, like learning to hear something that was always there. I sat with that thought for a long time, and then, slowly, with a kind of cold clarity that only comes when you've been avoiding a conclusion for weeks, I understood. It was never in the room. I had been lying in bed every night trying to locate a sound, assigning it directions. Foot of the bed, left side, right next to my ear, tracking its movement, trying to build a map around it. But you can't map a source that has no location, because it wasn't somewhere in the space around me. It was the space around me. I don't know how else to explain it. I don't have better words for it than that. Whatever it was, wherever it came from, it wasn't standing somewhere in my apartment. It wasn't hiding. It wasn't waiting at a specific point in the room. It was close in the way that only something without distance can be close. I moved out 3 weeks later. Different building, different neighborhood. I threw myself into the logistics of it, so I wouldn't have to think about what I was running from. New lease, new furniture arrangement, new routines. I left the storage bins from under my bed. I left the voice recorder app installed on my phone and then deleted it. Then reinstalled it, then deleted it again. I told myself the new place would be fine. And it was. Mostly, it is. It's quieter. The walls are thicker. The neighbors are barely audible. Most nights, I sleep without a problem. But there are nights, usually late, usually when I've been still for a long time, when the room gets a particular kind of quiet, The kind that isn't empty. The kind that has texture to it. Wait, a sense of something listening from inside the silence rather than outside it. And I lie there, and I breathe, and I wonder, not whether it followed me. I know it followed me. I've known since the second night in this apartment, when I exhaled slowly in the dark and felt that old familiar pause just after. What I wonder is something else, something I've been trying not to put into words, because there's a question I haven't been able to shake, not since that morning in the kitchen with the headphones on, not since I heard the two rhythms, mine and the other one, running alongside each other in the dark. What if it was never something outside of me? What if I've been listening to myself this whole time? Not my lungs, not my breath, but something underneath that. Something that lives at a depth I can't reach consciously. Something that exhales when I don't even know I'm breathing. What if it's not that something is inside my room? What if something is inside my chest? And what if, right now, as you sit wherever you are, reading this, breathing without thinking about it, what if it isn't only mine anymore? Take a breath. Go ahead. Was that you? And now, it doesn't wait for night anymore.